This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello and welcome to What's Bruin. I'm your host, Jake Merrifield, and I'm joined by my good friend, Mike Regalado, on an MJ edition of the What's Bruin Show.
The ceiling is the roof.
The MJ edition.
Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm all right, Jake. Aside from the circumstances surrounding what we are going to be talking about, we can't be that sad, Jake.
We can be sad.
It's birthday week.
That's true, but
It's birthday week.
still, even on birthday week, even sometimes more so on birthday week, it's hard to be a Bruin.
I will say it.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Giving all your love to just one team.
You were saying, Mike?
UCLA loses, but again, it's the way they lost.
Oh, God.
Similar to how they lost to Arizona, similar to how they lost to USC. It's like they didn't get blown out, which might take more comfort, but then those certain UCLA fans would just have probably burnt down, Westwood at this point. But it's just unfortunate because it was right there, and we're gonna get into it.
Well, it's funny you say that, Mike, because I literally am just finishing up an article for the Substack, what'sbruin.substack.com, but it's titled Chip Kelly and UCLA football need to get unstuck from 500. And basically what it's about is just the fact that these last four losses, right? Chip Kelly hit the 500 mark with his UCLA
just
career.
a week ago.
No, last year, about halfway when they got to 8-1. That also was when they got to 500.
He was at 500 at that? I thought this was the first time
no,
he was.
because Mike, they've been 4-4 since, and that's what's maddening about it. And the wins,
good point,
the wins have been blowouts. I mean, they've basically been overmatched. They've overmatched their inferior opponents.
Yeah.
But the losses have all just been, oh my God, so soul sucking, just taking it right out of us. And this, to me, I think this one, the SC game hurt a lot. I love DTR so much, and to see him go out like that hurt me a lot. The Arizona game was just so listless and lifeless. Like it's like that made me so sullen and depressed and a little deranged.
Yeah.
This one though hurts me the most because I still believe in this team. Yeah. I still believe completely in this team, and people are going to call me crazy. It's okay. I can be crazy. But there's so much baggage with this team.
You crazy.
That, Mike, you feel the baggage. You're more public than I am.
Here's how I thought about this. Because
they lose this game, and
this was a
the
good
knives
game.
are out full force.
This was a good game. This was a bad game. Let's say aliens came down. You gave them a 1-hour lecture on how on football. They see this game, they would probably go, wow, this is a really good defensive game, which it was. It was actually a really fantastic game between two defensive teams. And
they're both good.
It was 14-7. Both teams, both defenses gave up just one touchdown each. A very good game. But for those that have the Bruin battered syndrome, who have been through this so many times,
yes.
this
Check.
hurt. There it is. It just hurt. We a lot of people can't say this was a good game because maybe people don't want to say it's a good game. They just want to see another L and how frustrating it was because it could have been a W easily. Drop passes, bad play calling.
We'll save it for later.
Yeah, we'll
Mike,
save it, but yeah.
But yes, and we're all hurt by this one. But anyways, basically over the last 8 games.
And it's a bye week, too, so we have to do this for 2 weeks.
I know. It makes it even worse. But Chip Kelly gets to 500 after starting, well in the tank. I think he started 7-19 or something. And then he finally battles to get to 500 last year, and signs are pointing up, and it looks like we're all, even the guys who are he didn't have to do it, he didn't have to do it like that. Now they're kind of getting on board. But since he hit 500, guess what? He's been 500.
Nope, they got off the train again.
Kelly's been 500.
Yeah.
As a coach for last year.
Yeah.
And we just need a sign going one way or the other. Okay? But anyways, I wrote an article on the Substack.
And that's the thing, too. If they would have gotten this win.
I'll link it in the notes.
a road win against a ranked opponent, completely different. Probably be in the top 15, maybe top 10. I would say top 15. A lot of people say, if they won, they'd be in the top 10. I'm like, there are really a lot of good teams right now. But completely different story. And it was that close, too. That's what kills.
Mike, I want to talk about this a little bit later, but that's literally, if you take any one of these 4 losses and turn them into a victory, the feeling around the program is, to me, it's completely changed. These are very important losses, and he's over 4 of them. By definition. Anyways, it is the What's Bruin show it's the What's Bruin Symposium on the What's Bruin Show Network. We want to thank you for listening, and we appreciate your support. You can subscribe on Patreon for how much, Mike?
$2.
Just $2 a month. That's patreon.com/what'sbruin show or just What's Bruin Show. And also on the Substack, what'sbruin.substack.com. You can subscribe for $5 a month or something. I don't remember what it is, but it's something like that. And you can subscribe on there too. And you'll get some bonus content. And you also will just be knowing that you're supporting the What's Bruin Show into the future. More on that later. But also on the What's Bruin Show network, we have West Coast Bias, which is Jamaal. He posted an article
You're just all about the West Coast bias. You don't like the East Coast.
An episode last week. Thank you, Jamaal, for that, and we'll try to get together real soon again. Maybe Jamaal might be on tonight. We'll see. The Bare Minimum, which is me and my daughter.
The Bare Minimum.
Talking about her time at Cal Berkeley, as they've rebranded, or as they're going to rebrand. And, of course, the UCLA B team, we're still trying to work out the technical kinks, but Michael Hanna is still on our network, theoretically, and he's doing some good work over there. You know, the yin to our yang, the darkness to our light, or whatever, or vice versa, whatever. We don't cast any aspersions, but we love Hanna, and we love him posting his shows on these airwaves or these internet waves. So please pay attention to that. Also on Twitter, at What's Bruin Show. Email, what'sbruinshow@gmail.com. I got some emails this week. Appreciate that. We got some tweets this week. Although I was in my personal account, Mike, ended up in Twitter jail.
What? Why?
For a day. Because I had the temerity to make, I saw some, and by the way, have you ever met anybody who's an adult male our age who's less political than me? I make political statements to you and I talk shit or whatever. But I just strike you as a man
me and Bill and
really
Jamaal, we bring it up what? Once every 20 times we meet, maybe, if that.
I'm just saying, with us, there are no politics.
Yeah.
We're just friends.
And we're as friends, being political opposites, sometimes
we have different opinions.
We have different opinions. We make fun of each other, but do we go away I hate you? Not at all.
GDM vegan.
No.
Anyways, reform vegan. Go have some cheese curds and a cheddar stuffed burger, Mike. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to hear. Anywho, I got stuck in Twitter jail because
why?
Last night I was watching TV. And I looked at my feed real quick, and I saw something about a debate between DeSantis and the devil himself, Gavin Newsom. And all I said was,
okay, if Newsom's the devil, then DeSantis has got to be I don't, someone 10 times evil. That dude is 10 times more evil than.
The comment that got me put into Twitter jail. However you feel about any of these people, was just, geez, if only a chasm could open up underneath that facility and swallow them both, we'd all be better for it. I mean, come on, that's not.
I mean, that wasn't one-sided at all. That was for both. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I say when there were two teams that I don't want to win. I was like, who are you rooting for? An earthquake? But
apparently, Twitter takes my very figurative
which is weird
as a literal death threat or something because it put me in Twitter jail.
Which is
so
weird.
F off. Twitter.
Which is weird because it's fearless leader.
I'm just saying.
There you go.
I'm just saying. So I'm sorry. I don't know how we're Mike. We're going to the bye week.
Yeah, sensitivo.
We've already talked half of the content, and we've already gotten off the rails with my Twitter jail story. But I'm still 80%
of
the opening.
80% of the show has just checked out.
It's fine. Whatever. I'm depressed about the Bruins. Damn it. Those stupid Utes. Anyways, also on YouTube. Just search What's Bruin Show, What's Bruin Show Network on YouTube, and you can hear or you can watch the show with a cool slideshow just as it is on the podcast form. And you can also get your What's Bruin Show Network merch at mylocker.net/shops/What's Bruin. That link will be in the notes, so you don't have to remember that. Don't worry about it. And but get yourself some cool Bruin gear. And finally, the What's Bruin hotline. You want to tell us how hard it is to be a Bruin? You want to tell us that you're still on board with Chip Kelly? You want to tell us that Chip Kelly is the worst coach in the history of UCLA sports? Hey, like I said,
First Amendment, y'all.
Reasonable minds can differ. Send it.
We're Americans.
Talk it. Say it.
You send that First Amendment.
On the hotline. call 805-399-4WBS. Suck you, Raina Troy. I hate you guys.
Although, dude,
I
you
love
better
this.
remember, First Amendment, yes, but it has consequences. Just saying.
Right, you are, Mikey. But call the hotline and tell us what you think. It's okay. I can edit it beforehand if you embarrass yourself. I'll make it sound less embarrassing, probably, if I have time. Or if,
Also
whatever.
say that, too. If you go like, hey, that was kind of weird in the middle, can you cut this out? We will do that for you because we love you.
Maybe, as long as you're not being a dick. But, whatever. I promise I probably will do that for you. Because most of you aren't dicks. Most of you guys are just wonderful people that want to enjoy the What's Bruin show, and we appreciate your support. So thank you. Now, Mike, do you have any bro-affiliated headlines with Mike Regalado from Bruin Report Online?
Not right now. There haven't been any very outlandish or attention-grabbing headlines. It's been the same things that we're doing. We have the advanced stats. We have the grades. We have the post-game analysis. Yeah, nothing much. UCLA had their Champed Up where, students got to go to Poly Pavilion, kind of get a feel for the upcoming, basketball seasons and other sports that are going around because gymnastics is coming up, men's basketball is coming up, women's basketball is coming up. And, that stuff is going to hit us quick.
Bruins!
I thought the summer went by quick.
Bruins.
And we were like, when the season started, I was like, yes, it's about time. We're already 4 freaking games into it, Jake. This is crazy. Basketball is going to start in like a month.
We're literally a third of the way into the season.
It's crazy. I don't like it. Slow it down.
I know.
Well, we kind of are. It's a bye week, so
Yeah, it is a bye week, so we
yeah,
are
let's.
positive. But I do have some breaking news then. Like, if you don't have any headlines, I have a headline.
Yeah.
What's brewing?
Breaking news.
On a weekly basis.
News just in.
As usual, going to Salt Lake City for a football game sucks!
Did you go?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying for the Bruins.
Oh. I was like, wait a minute.
I was not going to that game on my actual birthday because, like I said, that would mean I would have to take my family there, spend all that money, and then risk being angry at the game.
That's true. Dad, it's your birthday. Why are you angry? I don't want to talk about it.
Sometimes
Sing it with me.
it's hard.
To be a Bruin, giving all your love to just one team.
UCLA football goes to Salt Lake City for the last time as a conference mate, probably, at least for the near future. Kyle Whittingham, along with Chip, thinks that they may return to each other. Return to me, Bruins, Utes. But anyways, last time as Pac-12 teams, these two showdown, and as has happened more often than not in the last half decade or so or more, the Utes.
What is a Ute?
Get over on the Bruins.
Did you say Utes?
Nah.
Yes, I said Utes. They win 14-7 at Rice Eccles. The Bruins fail their first test versus real competition in 2023, although there will be more tests, plenty more tests this year from the looks of it. But they fall in a game in which it could have gone different, but it didn't. They start off on the wrong foot, giving up 7 points.
Woof.
And then Utah basically has command of the game from that point forward. The Bruins don't cash in on some opportunities, and we'll talk more about it in a minute. But I gave my immediate post-game thoughts on Sunday morning. So look back at the feed if you want to see that. It's a WB2, the game review, tragedy in Utah. But, Mike, now's your time to sound off on this game. What do you want to talk about just in your initial thoughts of what happened in the moment or coming out of it, going to practice the day later or a dollar short or whatever? What were your thoughts on this depressing-ass game?
Yeah, I mean, literally, the initial thought is Dante Moore throws a pick six, which kind of looked a little lazily thrown, a little lackadaisicalness up in there. And it was literally the first pass of the game. First play of the game. Dante Moore has thrown consecutive touchdown passes. This one was the bad type, where he gets a pick six. And so I'm thinking, okay, that happened. They have the entire game to try to erase that, to come back. And it literally took the entire game to try to come back. And, they fell short, and it just seemed like...
it just never happened for them.
No, not at all. Just so many punts and 3 and outs, and I was like, this is definitely not the team that we saw the last 3 weeks, and obviously that was of lesser talent, but
versus lesser talent. You mean
against lesser talent, and it was just it just stumped me for several reasons because play calling seemed a little vanilla, like they could have done just different things. It seemed like they were trying to do the exact same thing and it just wasn't working.
I was wondering if there was going to be some sort of razzle-dazzly sort of thing or some sort of change up or whatever, and it just felt like it never came. I agree with that, Mikey.
Yeah,
keep going.
And it seems like the offensive line just never got it together. I should look this up. There were plenty of sacks.
Yeah.
Some of them were on Dante Moore, but not all of them were on Dante Moore.
Oh, absolutely not.
And, just little things like guys dropping balls. Yeah, Josiah Norwood had that touchdown.
It was a sure touchdown.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, he made it for sure later in the game, to his credit. But that one needed to be caught.
Exactly. Things like Carson Steele did an okay job, but at some point, you got to bring in Harden. Maybe just, two back set. I don't know.
They both played.
They definitely both played, but there just seemed to be like an emphasis on Carson Steele. There were even times where Anthony Atkins, who did well last week against or the week before against North Carolina Central, but he just didn't seem to have it with him in this game. And just things were just not clicking. It seemed like UCLA was like a half a second behind itself, just not able to put anything together.
No, I think that's very accurate, Mike. And it's just that nothing quite came together for them. Mm-hmm. But it's funny. Like I was reading today, and a quote that was very perfect regarding sports fandom came to the top of my mind. I read it. So little pains do the vulgar take in the investigation of truth, accepting readily the first story that comes to hand, right? And basically what I'm saying is like it's real easy to just pick, like, say, oh, the Bruins scored 7 points. Oh, Dante Moore looked like he was under pressure a lot. Oh, Utah looked like they played really good on defense. So it must mean that the UCLA offensive line is absolute trash, which is, that's a bold statement, but it's also something you've heard over and over and over again coming out of this game, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that UCLA line is absolutely great? No, but are they responsible for every bad thing that happened to the Bruins over the weekend? Absolutely not. Yep. And so I kind of take exception to that, especially after we watched it. I'm like, yeah, there were times when they got beat. There were times when number 83, I think his name is Elise or Silas or something like that for Utah, he was absolutely destroying, game-breaking the Bruins at moments in this game. But there were other times when UCLA protected Dante Moore and the other Bruins plenty well, and they just didn't cash in on opportunities. And the only thing I'd like to say to kind of balance the kind of the general takeaways that people have on this game is, number one, we knew Utah's defense was pretty darn good, okay? Mm-hmm. We knew UCLA's offense was pretty darn good, and I still think they're a pretty darn good offense. Would I be surprised at all if they put up a bunch of points in the next game and the next game after that? No, I wouldn't at all.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is probably, I would say almost certainly, the best defense they're going to play all year. And so when you're playing the best defense you're going to play all year, is it possible that some of the crap you do is going to get short-circuited? Are you going to win every single battle? Are you going to win every single individual battle? No, absolutely not. And that, to a degree, is maybe a disadvantage in playing such a light opponent the week prior, is that you kind of get a little bit of the big head, a little overconfidence, and there's certainly that argument to be made. But the Bruins had plenty of chances to score in this game, and the Bruins, giving that pick six up at the very beginning of the game really just put them on a bad posture for the game, and it was something that they could have made it up, but they just didn't. Yeah. But the narrative that, oh my God, they just got completely dominated by the Utah defense, well, it's true because they only put up 7 points, but there were moments where they did it to themselves. They just didn't come through. And you already said it, right? Norwood dropping that pass. If the game is, if Moore doesn't throw that pick six at the very beginning, right? And the Bruins, maybe he's not as trigger shy. Maybe he's not overthrowing balls as much. Maybe he's making different decisions. Well, it turns out that he did, though, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of sets him off the wrong foot. Norwood catches that pass early. They're able to cash in on that.
They're tied.
The whole game changes from that point because if you look at how the UCLA defense played against the Utah offense, like it was just what team could
we
have
haven't even
that,
talked about that yet.
little bit of an advantage is what became a huge advantage in this game. In games like this that are so close and so tight to the vest and where the defenses are so overpowering, little plays make such a big difference. There's not that much room for error. And, sometimes you're going to be in games like that, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're taking a freshman quarterback into a hostile environment on the road in his first big start against major competition.
Yeah.
It could have gone differently, but it didn't. And that's a shame. But it doesn't. It's not it's not a referendum on how good or bad this team is this year, right? But both teams had dominating defenses, and just nothing went the Bruins' way in those kind of key moments. We already talked about the Josiah Norwood touchdown drop. That was, I want to say, their fourth drive. Their fifth drive, they probably could have scored. That's the one where Kyle Ford gets overthrown on the sideline by Dante Moore, right? Not all of these drives were going to be successful. They're in a tough defensive battle. But that right there is 14 points they could have had and 7 points they actually gifted to Utah. That's a big part of this game. And in the second half, they get inside the 15, and then they have that crazy option play that they come out after a timeout. And look, you want to talk about the play calling, a lot of people do. That's one I think that Chip Kelly wishes he had back, right? Putting your quarterback in that position, especially when you have when you I think I want to say there was a timeout in between, when they're ready to call that play, and then they were on the field, and that's what they decided to go with. To me, there's a lot better options you could have gone to than having your freshman quarterback trying that option. And if he would have pitched it, probably would have been okay. All you had to do is not fumble it, and at least you get 3 there. But that really, though they had multiple moments in a very close game where they could have scored, and turns out they only cashed in on one of them. But when I hear about how porous and how terrible their offensive line is, well, guess what? They're going up against a good defensive line. We make all this stink about how great the UCLA defensive line has been and all these TFLs and all this stuff. Well, guess what? I mean, they're not always going to go up against chumps, right? It's not always going to be a path of no resistance. And they were in a tough game against Utah, and they came up short, and that sucks. But it's not like, I already said it before, but it's not definitive as to what this particular team in 2023 is. And that's what is kind of frustrating coming out of the game. At the same time, I totally understand it because, like we just said 10 minutes ago, UCLA is now 4-4 in the last 8 games. UCLA has, 2 wins against really, really decent, credible opponents, and that was last year, Washington, Utah. And other than that, all their wins have been against, arguably not so great competition. Yeah. So, there's a lot that you could say that is an indictment of the Chip Kelly era, but this game isn't it. Okay? This game is not it. And if you're trying to make that case, I think you're being a little bullheaded, and I don't think it's fair on this particular game. They passed, or they failed their first significant test of 2023, but the Pac-12 is loaded this year, and they still have a chance to be really good in 2023. So don't act like they don't, right?
Yeah, it was weird. You just because of the loss, and it's reactionary. And yeah, the Bruin battered syndrome, well, it'll do that to you. But just hearing a lot of the Chip is a fraud, has he lost his edge? Has he, he's a horrible coach. He used to be great, now he's not. Again, 14-7. UCLA's defense only gave up 7. UCLA only scored 7, but this was a really good game between 2 damn fine defensive teams.
Yeah, and look, Utah's offense sucked. I really thought that the Bruins had a major advantage on offense versus Utah because I thought their offense was going to be a lot better than Utah's. Turns out it wasn't because of kind of what we just was talked about. And sometimes you're in that sort of fight. It's a shame because this was a golden opportunity to win a game at Rice-Eccles, but it didn't turn out that way. One thing I do want to talk about the play calling, Mike. A lot's been made of the option play, which you already kind of talked about. The one thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about that, we were wondering if Chip Kelly was going to have some sort of change-up, right? He said that he was never thinking about pulling Moore at all, but it's not that we wanted him to pull Dante Moore. It's more that we just wanted to mix it up a little bit, right? Maybe try something a little bit different. You're talking about maybe running a little more Harden as opposed to Steele. They both ended up running about the same, and they both ended up being about the same rate of success, right? By the end of the game, they both had a couple decent runs, and they both had a bunch that they got stuffed on. And that certainly does speak to the offensive line not having its best day. But once again, it's going up against the best defensive line it's going to play this year. And they won some and they lost some, right? That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I wish we could have saw a little bit of some sort of change up, some sort of wrinkle out of Kelly, because I didn't feel like there was any wrinkle.
That would have thrown a curveball to Kyle Whittingham. It's like, oh, they're bringing in that guy. Okay, we have to switch things up.
And the only thing I will say in Chip's defense is that Mike, did it feel like to you throughout this game? We talk about the missed opportunities. Didn't it feel like it was always about to break? It did to me until the very end of the game. And then they zipped down the field. So I can understand that reasoning, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about these, people will, especially in the Twitter space, right? People are very quick to be, oh my God, I can't believe he called that. Oh, I can't believe he did that. It's just like baseball, like I can't believe that they put that pitcher in at that time, or I can't believe he called a hit and run at that moment, or I can't believe he tried to bunt it there, or I can't believe he didn't try to bunt it there.
Yeah.
Right. And the bottom line is, much of these coaching decisions are generally, they're not, oh my gosh, it's 100% right or 100% wrong. It's always like, what is the best percentage chance that you're going to do? And generally, it may be 60-40, it may be 55-45, it may be 51-49, but you can argue with some of the choices that Kelly or the coordinators made on this play or that play, but a lot of times it does just come down to the execution of the players.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not the staff's fault that Norwood had a touchdown in his hands and he dropped it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. It is a little bit of the staff's fault that Moore was put into so many situations where he's throwing the ball so much and he starts to see shadows out there and he's under a lot of pressure. Absolutely. And so maybe you could have managed how Moore did better. And I understand that argument, play calling wise. But then again, you couldn't consistently run the ball. So, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I did have a problem with as far as the play calling goes, it felt to me like this would have been a good opportunity to try some sort of screen game. And I'm not talking about the thing where the running back runs out as a swing out to the sideline and they do kind of like a naked bubble out there. I'm saying like a proper screen where you let these freaking hard-charging Utah Utes crash in and you try to just dink it over the top of them somehow.
Yeah.
And you relieve some of the pressure. They can't pin their ears back nearly as much if you're running screens. And Kelly has ran screens before, so I'm like, where the hell did the screens go in this? I thought that was a wrinkle that he maybe could have tried, and I haven't heard anybody say, suggest that. And I wonder if Moore throwing that first pick that was kind of like supposed to be like an easy throw, and he like kind of throws it right to the Utah guy.
Yeah.
I wonder if that kind of made him trigger shy on trying to do some of these more timing-based, right?
Yeah.
Short passes like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I would have liked to see him call some more screenplays, as opposed to the different personnel he put out there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am with that, Mike.
Well, we haven't. That's the bad, and it's overall bad because it's an L. They're 3-1. They could have been 4-1. They could have been, the talk of the town, of the nation, but they're not. And so now they're just kind of put in this spot. But
we're in purgatory for a couple weeks,
which is unfortunate because I came away from this game really excited about the defense. We just talked about how the offense had all these missteps and they could have done this, could have done that. This game, and I've been monitoring the stats for the in the first 3 games. Obviously, they're going to be badass against playing against lesser talented teams. But what they did to Utah, there were a few times where I thought Utah had the ball, and I was like, okay, they're just going to march downfield. And they did a couple times, but they got freaking stopped. I'm like, who are you people? Kane Madrano. This guy has like just been in the program for so many years, and now he is freaking blossoming. Jalen Davies, a guy that the secondary needs to step up. Kamari Ramsey, these guys were balling out. Yeah, sure they gave up a couple plays that didn't help the situation. There were penalties.
He's just a baller, man.
But for the most part, this defense.
There's not really too much you can say about the defense.
It's really freaking exciting. I am so excited about this defense. How it's, and it's not that much different from last year. A little tweaks here and there. It just, it seems like this year is what Bill and I wanted 10 years ago, right? Blitz them all, but
they're not blitzing a lot. They're blitzing selectively.
They are, but they're being more successful about it. Last year for the season, their sack rate was 5.22%. Right now, and it's only through 4 games, and one of those games was against a very tough, Utah offensive line. 10%. 10% right now. That's 15th in the nation. UCLA is in the top 10, I believe, in both sacks, total sacks per game, tackles for loss, and tackles for loss per game.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I was worried about. I was like, we're not really seeing a lot of Latu. That stat tracker has been kind of quiet, crickets the last 2 weeks, but he's still getting into the backfield, getting tackles for loss. Muasel is still doing the same thing. The Murphy twins are emerging this year, and it is good to see. I think they gotta have some. They gotta keep their heads a little cool. There was that little scuffle towards the end, and I think it was Grayson who was jawing, and it was just so weird because you have like scuffles, and then you see pictures of other guys hugging each other, hugging Utah players, going "good game," and it was like.
And Woody
if anything, this was like this was like epitome of like two brothers, just like we respect you, but I'm still going to get the best of you type of situation. It's like, hey, I'm proud of you, but at the same time, here's a noogie type of deal. But what we're seeing from the defense is at this point beyond what I thought that they could do. I thought they were going to get better. I didn't think that they were going to be this good.
No, and I think that is something that is self-evident, even though you can make the qualification that they still haven't played anybody that we think is definitively good on offense. Because Nate Johnson was a circus, right? That's why I thought the Bruins were going to win this game, because watching him in the game and a half that he played, he showed me nothing. And guess what? In this game against the Bruins, he showed me nothing again. Even on the drive that they scored from, they started at the 50, they got down inside the 20, and then they needed a bullshit of all bullshit penalties on Darius Muasau on the Bruin defensive line, where they called their bullshit. They're trying to draw a false start from the Utes to get them a 1st and 5, and that's how they scored. They wouldn't have scored. I don't think they would have scored more than a field goal in that drive if they don't get that penalty.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of wacky penalties in this game as well that I take great exception to. But even if you want to adjust for the level of competition, and we'll have to see how they do against a much better offense next a week and a half from now against Wazoo or Oregon State, a much different sort of offense, or down the line they're going to have to still play SC, right, and Arizona. Those are probably the high-powered offenses they have to face. I don't know, Cal put up 500 yards against Washington. That's another team that's
crazy.
That's going to possibly put up some yards.
I think that was like that was like the secret nobody wanted to talk about in that game. It's like, yeah, sure, Washington was dominant, but the first thing I saw, because I didn't really see much of that, Cal had 37 points?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then I saw later.
A lot of it's garbage time, though.
Sure, and then later it was like points. 500 freaking yards. I was like, dear God.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my point being is, look, you can make the argument that the Bruins haven't played a good offense, but at the same time, it's undeniable the eye test for this defense.
Yeah.
They look pretty darn good.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, well, here we are. Chip Kelly back at 500 at UCLA. This is the party line for the Bruins this week.
I think Chip Kelly is probably the worst coach in the Pac-12 right now.
That's how everybody's feeling, right? We have a whole...
No. Let me correct you. That's how half of the UCLA fan base...
It's very polarized. It's very polarized. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So it's very polarized right now, right?
I can guarantee you there's some Utah people that go that are like, he's an all right coach. He's all right.
It's just one of these things, and like I said, the article I wrote is kind of addressing this, but it seems like with every win, we're like at... outside, there's an outsized positive response, and with every loss there's an outsized negative response.
Oh yeah.
And it really is because we're just stuck in this purgatory of 500, right? Before Kelly tanked the program for 2 years, and that got a lot of critics that he'll never earn.
He didn't tank, Jake. He was trying to get his culture in.
Yeah, whatever he did, right? He still went, 7 and 16 or whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Literally one of the worst.
That was painful.
Records for any coach, if not the worst, right? And then they kind of had that COVID season where we kind of got a little stabilized, whatever. But once again, right around 500, finished 3-4.
3-4, yeah.
And then we have 2 seasons that are pretty good seasons, record-wise, 8-4, 9-4, right?
Most programs around the country would kill for 8 wins.
I don't know about most, but right. And by the way, for UCLA football, it's acceptable but not great, right?
Yeah.
You know, but
Because of all our championships. That's why.
well, but still, Mike, you don't think they should have won at least 1 or 2 more games in 2022 and 2021? Yeah.
They should not have lost to Arizona last year. They should have beaten
How about
USC.
Pitt, Mike?
They should have destroyed Pitt.
Jesus Christ!
Although I put all of that on Charbonnet. He ruined everything. No, whatever. No, he's trucking
DTR
dudes.
threw 3
He's-
picks in that game.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So
And got
he
injured.
also had butted a dude.
The point I'm trying to make is that, my God, dude, we've been in this purgatory, as I said, for almost a year now, right?
To be a Bruin.
Oh yeah, where it is. That's the point I'm trying to make. Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Where'd it go? I don't know. There it is.
Sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Giving all your love to just one team.
Just think about it this way, Mike. If they win that Arizona game last year, we're going into the Crosstown Showdown, however that goes, as a top 10 Crosstown Showdown matchup.
Yeah.
Like SC was like 7, UCLA was like number 9 or whatever. They probably would have been like 7 versus 8 in that particular game. Zach Charbonnet and DTR, Chip Kelly versus Lincoln Riley and future Heisman winner, what's his name? Stupid Caleb Williams. Right? That thing was lit. As it was, that game was awesome. And as it was, if you would have told me DTR would have the ball with a chance to win at the end of the game, I would have taken that. Did it turn out our way? No, it didn't.
Nope.
But that SC loss, it hurts. Yeah. It crushed our souls. Yeah. But it wasn't a bad loss.
No.
That was not a bad loss.
No.
It wasn't. Mm-mm. But the Arizona one before it sure was.
That hurt.
And the Pitt one right after it certainly was too.
Yeah.
Pitt, they lost to Pitt's JV squad.
Yeah.
If they get any one of those 3 wins, they get 10 wins on the season. And, you talk about, like, Mike, you're defending the 8 and 9 wins, and you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. And I totally understand the argument.
Mm-hmm.
If they get to 10 wins, there's only been, like, 5 10-win seasons in UCLA history. So that's, like...
That shuts up a lot of people.
Even if, like, they haven't won a conference title...
You just said it. They only have 5 or 10 wins. I think it's a little bit more. In program history... Which is why it baffles me why people think that UCLA should be like on a national championship level at this point. It's like it is a top 25 program historically amongst all programs, but it isn't one of the blue bloods.
Correction again. Mm-hmm. There's been 9 10-win seasons.
There you go. Okay.
In UCLA history.
Okay.
But only 3 in the last 25 years.
There you go.
Okay, that's what the stat is. And so I'm agreeing with you, Mike. It's like you can argue about the how good an 8-win season is. You can argue about how good a 9-win season is, especially when you adjust for the level of competition they face, because that's a big argument against the 9-win season, right? However, if you get 10 wins in a season, like there's not a whole lot you can say about that. That's a good benchmark of a pretty good season.
Yeah.
You can complain about them not winning the conference title or being in the championship game. Absolutely, that's a demerit against it. But a 10-win season is a 10-win season. So if they win any one of those games last year, the horrible loss to Arizona, the horrible loss to Pitt, or that heartbreaking loss to SC, that is something that changes the way this program is viewed, I think.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
In the whole offseason. No. But did they? No, they didn't.
No.
And so there's still a bunch of griping on both sides of it. We're still very, very, very polarized.
Mm-hmm.
And then this game they just lost right now. They win this game. You already said it, Mike. They're 4-0. They're in the top 15, and they're on the bye week riding high, waiting for a showdown against another top 15 in Washington State.
Yeah.
Who beat Oregon State. Nice Beavers.
Yeah.
Sloppy Beavers. Whatever. I didn't get that drop yet. That's a good drop. It's going to be a good drop. Anyways.
And you were talking about, just to wrap this up really quickly, you're talking about how UCLA really hasn't faced a big-time offensive Pac-12 team. Well, that starts, not this weekend, obviously, because of the bye week, but that starts next weekend. UCLA misses the top 2 offensive teams in Washington and Oregon. Then you have USC, which is at the end of the year. 4 and 5, respectively, are Washington State and Oregon State, which had a damn good game. And number 6, which is actually tied with UCLA, is Cal, and then Arizona, then Colorado. UCLA is going to be tested. I think the defense is going to help the Bruins win on that side of the ball. Chip Kelly at this point, even
Chip
if
Kelly?
he starts to win, he's still winning for his job, because a lot of boosters are not going to take it if UCLA does happen to go like 7-5, let's say. So the offense really has to put those points on the board, because it looks like the defense is doing what it needs to this year.
Do you think whatever team scores the most points will be successful, Mike?
So I think it's whatever offense manages to score more points.
Whether it's football or baseball or or basketball, if you have more points than your opponent, 9 times out of 10,
You're in good shape. Thanks, Mike.
60% of the time,
Yeah.
you're going to win all the time.
Yeah. 60% of the time, you're going to win 100% of the time. Yeah, that's absolutely true, Mike. No, and you know, the segment of the year where they played piss poor offenses is now concluded.
Yeah.
'Cause
so
now
here's the test.
Yeah.
Now the offense has to get up to speed.
Yeah, and let's see if the defense can pass some of these tests. They failed the first test. Now they got to pass. But they're going to have plenty of opportunities. Oregon State good offense, Washington State good offense, Colorado good offense, Oregon good offense, USC good offense, Cal probably good offense. That's of the 8 games remaining, 6 of them are going to be stiff tests for defense.
Oh yeah.
But none of them has anywhere near as good a defense as Utah does, I don't think. And so there's going to be plenty of room for and to put a button on the conversation too, right? I said this in the postgame show and I'll say it again. A month ago, if you would have told any Bruin fan that they were going to go to Salt Lake City and lose a game 14-7, they might not have been happy with it, but they would have said, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
If you would have told them they're going to go to Utah and Dante Moore was going to have, who was the starter. First of all, they say, "Dante Moore's the starter? I'm so excited."
Oh my God.
But then they'd also say, if you told them that he would throw a pick 6 to open the game and then they would struggle to score and they'd lose 14-7, it would be entirely understandable.
Oh yeah.
Okay? Obviously, that
He's
context
a freshman.
gets changed when you find out that they're not playing Cam Rising and that all the injuries that Utah had on offense and all that stuff, right? That changes. The Bruins could have and probably should have won this game on Saturday, and that's why it's such a depressing, heartbreaking loss. But when you talk about what we thought the prospects were for the season beforehand, this was a loss that was almost scheduled. And if you're going to tell me, and what we can hope for, is that Dante Moore is getting a valuable lesson out of this, Dante Moore will not play this bad the rest of the season, fingers crossed. Dante Moore is getting a lot of the freshman lessons out in this game, a game that they lose on the road in Rice-Eccles. Well, it's like, okay, fine. There's a very good chance that Dante Moore doesn't play that bad again and that the Bruin offense doesn't play that bad again, and we're off to the races from here. Washington State is not going to pose that big of a challenge on defense as Utah did, I don't think. And neither will Oregon State. Certainly won't Colorado. Stanford, absolutely not. Arizona, for sure not. Arizona State, are you kidding me? USC, their defense, give me an effing break.
They almost gave up that game against Arizona State.
So literally,
Jake.
if they can, and you have to take the season in these chunks, right? The first 4 games of the season, 3-1, we wish we had that one back. The second 4 games of the season, Washington State, Oregon State, Stanford, Colorado. It really comes down to Washington State and Oregon State. They need to win. Now that they lost to Utah, I think they need to win both these games. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Even though at Oregon State's going to be a tough test. They have to beat Washington State this week. It'd be real nice if they beat the Beavers. But it's still right there for them. And then after that, they're going to reel off some wins after that. So I don't know. I think we're rambling at this point, and I apologize, Mike, but sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. I'm not going to play it again.
Yeah.
We have to sit on this stupid loss for 2 weeks, marinate on it, stew on it. We have to think about what could have been. We have to deal with a polarized fan base, but we're here for you, the What's Bruin Show audience, and we feel your pain. Now let's
move on.
Get on and move on and put it to
It's birthday
put it to
week.
bed.
It's birthday week, Jake.
That's right.
It's birthday week.
That's right. But next week's birthday week too, because guess what? Bill will be here, you'll be here, and we'll, that's when you guys will get your gifts. That's nice. Mike bought me a nice bottle of whiskey.
Hells yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of it, but I like the ingredients. I know you like to try different stuff, and I hope it's good. And this one has like a big old map of Ireland on it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
West Cork Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I'm just hoping
Can't wait to crack it open.
It's serviceable.
I appreciate
Cheers, mate.
you, Mike. Thank
Happy
you very
birthday,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just had your birthday on Saturday.
I did.
Yeah, the Bruins didn't give you a good birthday gift, jerks, but
That was rough.
yeah, well, at least they
The
don't.
only cloudy moment of my birthday was that. But other than that, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyhow,
All right, we're moving on.
let's get on with it.
Damn it.
Do you think we drink too much?
No, we don't drink too much. Men face reality, women don't. That's why men need to drink.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
And you have a drinking problem. And he goes, F you, you're Mormon. Next to you, we all have a drinking problem.
That's my favorite drop.
What else am I going to drink, Bob? A fucking Fresca?
I heard that live, and I was like, oh, my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, appropriately for our last game against Utah, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining the What's Bruin Symposium. A conversation over drinks is what we have right now, and certainly that is the case for me and Mikey on this MJ edition.
The MJ edition.
Mikey, what are you choosing to drink tonight?
Tonight, I wanted to check out the Firestone. I know we were kind of...
thought you boycotted them, Mikey.
I did, but they have...
That arrogant bastard
You know what's
nonsense.
weird? I haven't seen that beer anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you think it would be like everywhere in Los
Especially
Angeles.
in LA, yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to reveal a little bit too much about me, but I
much.
notice liquor stores and their
we'll do, Mike.
subjects. Anyway, but no, before their
Mike's hanging out outside like Jay and Silent Bob.
Before their traitorous turn to the dark side, you know, I do like the Firestone. They actually do have a really good brewery. The one down in South Bay is really good, but I really like this Mind Haze double IPA, and especially after this last game, I needed a Mind Haze to get my mind off of things and footballs and such. So,
it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. Anyway, what are you drinking? What do you got there?
Tonight, during the Utah game, we cracked open a bottle that I got when I was in Utah the last time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of things I was trying to get some positive
you bought alcohol in
cheap.
Utah? Was it like $80,000?
No, Utah's actually, 10 years ago you couldn't say this, but now there's actually a lot of good bars in Utah. And there's a really nice distillery out there that a lot of people have heard of.
Yeah.
You may have heard of High West Distillery.
Yes.
If you go to Park City, they have an awesome High West bar, saloon, and a real nice gift shop.
Nice.
And I went there. We went for our anniversary trip in May.
Yeah.
And I came back with this bottle. It's High West Rendezvous, a blend of straight rye whiskeys. And I was trying to get every little bit of mojo together for the Bruins in that game, and guess what? It didn't work. They only scored 7 goddamn points.
Damn it.
And they threw a pick 6.
Damn it.
But anywho, this was my effort, and it's a real nice looking bottle. It's it says High West Distillery, like kind of etched in the glass. It's kind of like molded in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a picture of a wonderful like stallion galloping across the Utah plains, or I don't know, there's a mountain in the back there. But this is a blend of straight rye whiskeys, as I said, and it's named for the annual gathering of mountain traders in Utah's Cache Valley in the early 1800s. Rendezvous was the first whiskey ever produced by High West, and this blend of aged column and pot still whiskeys brings a high rye and mash bill and is never chill filtered. When me and Bill cracked this open, kind of like the Utah game, we were left wanting more. Not Dante Moore, but just
more.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't like it that much, honestly. Bill didn't like it at all, but then he doesn't like rye whiskey very much. I was like, it's okay, but it wasn't as good as the price of the bottle, right? Because I actually spent a little bit of money on this one. It's not a super expensive bottle, but it's like a $90.
Did you like it the more you had more?
Mike, you're making me go to the buttons, but sure you are. But I didn't like it when we were trying it on Saturday. But Bill didn't like it so much that I actually poured his out into a little cup and set it on the counter, and then revisited it later. And when I revisited it later, it actually was pretty darn good, and I actually like it quite a bit. So at first I was declaring I would never spend this much money on this bottle again, but now I've kind of backed off that, and sipping it now in front of you, Mike.
It's a bit all right.
It ain't bad. It's not bad at all. So I don't know if it's worth quite the money, but it's not bad. I will say that.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. I think I'd buy it again. Just saying it. Maybe it's because I've already had 2, but who knows?
You know, I still trip out at some of the just old booze laws. You know, like in Pennsylvania, the fact that you have to go to. Like, it trips me out that like
store?
Places like Philadelphia, you can't just go to Ralph's, buy a 6-pack, and then go home. You have to go to specialized places.
Yeah, Utah's like that.
Crazy.
Ohio's
Utah's like that.
Pennsylvania's like that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you find the state-run liquor store, and they have a whole gaggle of stuff, and they're pretty fun to shop at.
Yeah, I remember one time when I visited Coburnos when he was at grad school at Pitt.
Mr. Laconic.
We were drinking and we were talking to one of his school friends, and I was like joking. I was like, I'm from California. You can buy beer at the gas station, and his friend was like, "You can buy beer at the gas station?" I'm
They're
like
freaking out.
I was like, the hell country do you think this is, bro?
America. F yeah.
I can buy alcohol anywhere I want, like a free man. I'm American.
Yeah, that's the West Coast for you, right? All right. Well, anyways.
All right, moving on.
Thank you for enjoying the What's Bruin show, the What's Bruin Symposium. Conversation over drinks. You can support us on Patreon for how much, Mike?
$2.
Just $2 a month. Patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or whatsbruinshow.com, or on the Substack, whatsbruin.substack.com, and you'll get some articles there and bonus content. I've been doing mallcasts at least once a week since the season started, and that's just me wandering around the mall talking about my random thoughts about UCLA football that I don't get on the podcast. But that's something that's for subscribers only. We appreciate that. You also get access to our Slack feed, which is very robust during football season. A lot of people chiming in, talk about stuff. We'll have some Slack comments in a minute. But we're really just a independent podcast amongst a bunch of very crowded podcast space this year for 2023 UCLA football.
Come in, guys. Just make yourself at home, I guess.
We'll see if they last. They're all our friends. We love those guys.
Yeah.
Listen to all the shows. Listen to as much UCLA content as you can. But just know that when you support the What's Bruin show, you are supporting
Ukraine.
Dudes, Ukraine,
Wait, what?
Truth, Justice, the American Way. Wonderful thing. Anything you like, that's what you're supporting when you support the What's Bruin show.
Exactly.
And we appreciate you, and we appreciate your support. So cheers to
Exactly.
you. Mike, let's crack
Cheers,
those
sir.
together.
Clink. Okay, that's,
Clink, that's
that's
good.
10 on glass. But
Let's try this one.
There you go.
Put that one over there.
There you go. All right. There you go.
And
it's not always hard to be a Bruin.
That's right. Thank you for your support.
Just on most Saturdays.
UCLA is a team now we're going to have to start talking about.
Oh my God, my guys suck balls. You know it. If I suck balls, you are king of suck balls mountain.
Didn't you say in your resume that you did 4 years at UCLA?
Yes. Technically, if you consider Bel Air an extension of the campus, which everybody does.
The worst in the world.
So I think we can move on to some listener feedback. There's a lot of feedback we had coming out of the Utah game. We once again appreciate you guys. The email is whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. Twitter is @whatsbruinshow. The Slack channel if you're a subscriber, and the hotline 805-399-4WBS. Sagarena Troy. First, we'll go with an email we got from a longtime listener and big What's Bruin supporter, Seamus Fitzpatrick, back there on the East Coast. He says, so I'm not an X and O's guys, and I don't understand most of what Osgood says. We love Chris Osgood. He's the man. But want to know what you guys think. How much of the Utah game was us effing up when we had the ball, and how good was their defense actually? To me, it looked like they knew what we were going to do before we did it. Nobody could get open. Running backs couldn't find any holes. And when they did, we dropped at least 2 touchdowns. Very frustrating. Glad we finally have a defense. Now, what going forward, right? And I think, Seamus absolutely crystallized a lot of the complaints that the Bruins have. And what I would say was, Mike, and you can speak, we already know what you think about the defense. You think the defense is pretty darn good.
Yeah. I mean, I there's still a lot I want to see. I want to see if they can keep it up, basically. And like you said, they still have to go against some of the more elite offenses. So I'm going to curb that. But at the very least, it's so much better than last year.
And what I would say, Seamus, is in regards to the UCLA offense, I think that they kind of hit an unstoppable force. It's like the UCLA's defense was an immovable object, and Utah's defense was an unstoppable force. They both kind of had their way with the opposing offenses.
Yeah.
But you were talking about how you didn't see guys running open. Well, I saw guys running open. I saw Dante Moore overthrow a bunch of them. I saw Josiah Norwood drop a touchdown pass. And to me, that's the difference between what I saw from the UCLA offense and the Utah offense. Like, Utah's offense, everything they got, because absolutely understandably, they were down Keefe, they're down Cam Rising, they're down a lot of offensive players. But pretty much all the offense they generated, other from a few productive runs, and Jaquin and Jackson got hurt halfway through the game. But to me, they were all kind of smoke and mirrors, and they managed to score 7 points off a drive they started from the 50, and that's about it, right?
Yeah.
UCLA Yeah, half the drives got stuffed and terribly with tackles for a loss and sacks and all that stuff. But the other half of the drives, they could have scored and probably should have scored. Yeah. And in a normal universe, if you put that game 10 times over, they score at least 13, 14 points in that game on their own, right? Now, is that enough to overcome the 14 that Utah got, 7 that was given to them in the offense? I don't know. But they were better than what that score was. And I think that this was just like one of those games where like nothing broke right for them. We talked about it. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I mean, there were, and I get it, Seamus. Like there were some times where, here's what I saw: receivers would get into the open and they would catch passes, or even if a lot of short passes too. But the Utah defense was so quick that they got to those receivers, they got to those running backs really quickly. And that's what just stuffed UCLA. It was just two defenses, just two boulders, running into each other.
But when I saw the Utah offense out there, like I wasn't disappointed by what I saw from the UCLA defense. But there weren't a lot of times you saw Utah receivers running open. Every time they made a catch, for the most part, it was covered. And that's something to say about the UCLA offense or defense that was worried about how their coverage was. This was not a team that was going to challenge them in that regard, and they didn't challenge them in that regard. But there were plays where UCLA had the opportunity to score, had the opportunity to get big plays, and just nothing worked out. And that's what the tragedy of the game is, because they had their opportunities, they didn't cash in. Utah, to me, didn't have a whole lot of offensive opportunities. They consistently had the ball at like the 35-yard line or better through the whole game. They had 20 or like 15 yards better average field position than the Bruins, and they did nothing with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That score they had was practically gifted to them, in my opinion. To a degree. I mean, maybe it should have been 3. But whatever. It didn't work out. But yeah, Seamus, as I said earlier, I think they should have worked in some more screens. I wish they could have completed some of those passes, but they didn't, and that's where we're left.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the Slack channel. Jack Rosenfeld, he wanted to call in, but he didn't. Instead, he wanted to write in, and he says, hey, I really wanted to call in, as I just said, but my energy level is still off for my Utah adventure. I just said Utah. I meant Nebraska adventure.
Oh, that's right. He was out and about.
That's right. I just wanted to say that this defense is something we haven't seen since 2006 season. I think that was the year. It sucks that Dante had his true freshman game then, but let's hope he got it out of his system. Yeah, I fully agree with that, Jack. If we get even an ounce more offense, 2 more catches, we'll be unstoppable. We would have been in that game. I agree with that too, Jack. Also, yeah, it sucks having a loss going to bye week. Ugh, it sucks so bad. I think the Bruins are like 500 in bye weeks since we've been doing the What's Bruin show. They're like 8-7 or 7-8 or something, or whatever that is. It's more years than we've been doing it. But I'm sorry. Jack goes on to say, yeah, it sucks. We're having a loss going to the bye week, but we were expecting to lose to Utah. You're right. Up until like Wednesday, we were expecting to lose to Utah. Just not a one-score defensive battle. And I agree with that. And he says, go Bruins. And then after I respond to him, he also says, thanks. I'm looking forward to the WSU game. I think I am too now, as sad as I'm at the Utah game. Mm-hmm. And he says, I'm working the tap room for the game and inviting my WSU friends to watch with the sound on. He's up there in the Pacific Northwest, so that's fun. Good. Jack, I hope you have a great time.
You need stickers for your friends? Let us know.
That's right. Oh, there you go. Although I don't know what a Cougar fan is going to want to do with the What's Bruin sticker, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But Jack is, of course, the purveyor of the Beer on the Run podcast. Mm-hmm. We are a great supporter of that.
Yes.
And listen to that. Look it up on iTunes. So thank you very much for that, Jack. Now, let's get on to... Well, I'm sorry. Jack was talking about the 2006 defense, though.
Oh, yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
who was on the 2006 defense?
Oh, dear
that
God.
was the famous Dwayne Walker defense that our friend Reggie Carter was on.
Yeah. My homie, not defense, but my homie McLeod Bethel Thompson was on the offensive side.
The defense, Mike.
I know.
We don't care about Bethel Thompson.
But I'm like looking at
Bethel
this.
Thompson. We don't care about Bethel Thompson.
You have guys like Bruce Davis.
Bruce Davis third?
Justin Hickman.
Oh yeah, Hickman was good.
Freaking the Moline brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Just so many like that. That defense was.
Reggie Carter was on there too, right?
Yeah, Reggie Carter was on there.
Thank you
yes,
very
exactly.
much.
Yeah, just so many absolute studs, and just kind of looking back, you could kind of glance over it, but when you really look deep into what it's specifically that 1 year with Dwayne Walker, just absolute, just freaking brutality across the board. It was insane.
And of course, that team lines up with the team we're very familiar with as longtime Bruin fans, pretty much since, I don't know, ever. Really good on one side of the ball and really poor on the other. right? I mean, that's how you could characterize.
I just said that too. I was
That's
like, last year we had a great offense and a defense. This year we have a pretty good defense and a offense.
That's the David Woods special.
I'm a bomb throwing anarchist now.
Yeah, those are terrible. So, yes, thank you very much, Jack, and enjoy watching the game. I hope you get a lot of tips. We also got an email from Crispy Bruin. Guess what? His name is Chris. He's awesome. We love Crispy Bruin. He sent in, this came in on Sunday, post-Utah thoughts. Hey, guys, after sitting with this loss for a while, I wanted to run a few big-picture ideas by you. Number 1, while the defense performed admirably, I'm not convinced as a top unit in college football, and the stats would indicate so far. We played some truly terrible offenses with little passing ability. The next test against Wazoo should be telling. And I agree with that. Like, me and Mike are actually very bullish on the defense because I maintain that just by the eye test, they're a good defense.
Yeah.
And Mike is working on an article that's basically comparing where they're at right now statistically to where they were last year at this time statistically, when we were like, well, is their defense any good? I don't know. Maybe it is. And then it turned out to not be so good.
Yeah.
Right? But, Mike, just a hint to your article, they're well ahead of that pace they were last year, right?
It's just insane how, where they're at in terms of certain statistics.
Benchmarks.
I'm not going to go
give
through
me
this.
one, Mike.
Not going to
one.
go through just one.
Just one, and then
Opponent yards per play, 3.8. First nationally. That's insane.
Yeah, and that's a very good stat, even against bad competition.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I would like to say is that the analogy I want to make is, look, they've played the competition they've played, and they haven't played a real high-powered offense. They played a guy we thought was a pretty good quarterback that first game, McCall, or whatever his name was, and they dominated him. But they really haven't played a real good offense. However, all you can do is play the competition you play, and they have absolutely manhandled and slam dunked the competition defensively. Haven't they, Mike?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that may not be proof that they're great, but I would say it's a nice, big, solid clue. So that's where I'm at with that, Chris. B. Bruin. Number 2, our O-line seemed to get exposed by Utah defense that's only starting to get healthy. How poorly does this bode for the trench warfare we may face in the Big Ten? Mike, do you have any thoughts on that initially? Because I have a strong take on this as well.
Yes, they do things a little bit different in the Big Ten, but what everybody has to remember is that just like every other conference, there are, well, except for the Pac-12 this year, where more than half the teams are freaking, pretty goddamn good. But on an average year in an average conference, you only have I would say 2 to 4 teams that are elite-ish, great, maybe, good. And then you have the middle of the road teams, and then the teams that are just not going to cut it. It's like, even in the Big Ten, you're going to have to face the Michigans and Ohio States and the Penn States, but then what's next? The Minnesotas and the Wisconsins and the Iowas, and then what below that? Does anybody really think that Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois, and Maryland are going to do anything to UCLA? No, you have to put them into perspective.
No, absolutely. And what I would say is I'll point to an article I wrote right before the season started. And the title of that article was, the UCLA defense wasn't as bad as advertised, but can't help but be better in 2023.
Yeah.
That's a long-ass headline. I'm still working on my process there. But, it says what it says, right? And what I would point to, and that's available on Substack, the whatsbruin.substack.com. But what I point to there, Crispy, is that I am licking my chops for UCLA to get into the Big Ten, not to face Ohio State and Michigan, because obviously those are going to be very tough matchups. Even Penn State to a degree. Those are going to be tough no matter when you play them. But for most of the Big Ten Conference, I am more than happy to put what UCLA's got going, whoever the coach is at that point, whatever. But more than happy to put up what Chip Kelly's put together in the last 4 or 5 years against anything in the Big Ten. And what I would point to is, everybody points to the Big Ten as this amazing defensive conference. And in 2022, that league was like a mirror image of the Pac-12. A lot of defensive teams versus Pac-12 is a lot of offensive teams, right? Yeah. The Big Ten had 9 teams in the top 50 for defensive points allowed, okay? 5 teams in the top 10 for defensive points allowed, okay? We're talking, this is 2022 stats, not 2023. But Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, Penn State, all in the top 10 in points allowed last year.
Yeah.
Okay? But guess what?
It's a major drop-off, wasn't it? Because you have those other teams who, I mean, they're hanging with them.
Well, Mike, I'll tell you. Those great defensive teams got to play, 8 of the worst offenses in the country. Northwestern last year was 128th in the country, scoring less than 14 points per game. Rutgers was 124th. Iowa was 123rd. Nebraska was 102nd. Indiana was 99th. Illinois was 95th. And Michigan State was 91st, right? There are some absolutely putrid offenses in the Big Ten that allow some of these teams to rack up the big stats. Now, are there great defensive teams in the Big Ten? Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
But are all of them like that? No. And do I think that UCLA is going to struggle against, Penn State or Michigan more so than they did against Utah?
Probably.
It's probably a little bit, but it's going to be comparable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, there's like 50 teams in the Big Ten at this point. So the percentage is about the same. In the Pac-12 for the last 10 years, the only real fearsome defense we've had to deal with for the most part has been Utah over and over and over again. And guess what? It is what it is. But in the Big Ten, it's probably only like a couple of those teams. And the rest of them, I'll take my chances with them.
Yeah.
The Bruins are going to be able to outscore them, and I think the Bruins will be able to handle their defenses as good as anybody else. And the style that the Bruins have played under Kelly kind of lends itself to that because they have been the power running game. The O-line did get exposed to a degree against the Utes, getting all the way back to Crispy's original point. However, if you watch the game, there are moments when they're getting beat up, but there's also moments when they are getting over on the Utah defensive line as well. They won their share of battles. It's just the Bruins couldn't cash in on any of them, and that's the tragedy of that game. If you're going to tell me they're going to go up against the best defensive line in the conference and tell me that they're never going to lose a battle, well, then, I don't think that's realistic. So they won some, they lost some. That's how tough games like that go. Mm-hmm. Should we get used to them playing a bunch of these games in the Big Ten? Maybe. But the style of play that the Bruin defense is this year hopefully translates into the next year. And, I think they're pretty well equipped.
Yeah.
I'd much rather them have a pretty good defense and a really good offense than, across town, they're going to lose their quarterback or whatever. But, Lincoln Riley going in there, we'll see how he does without a Heisman quarterback, right? Next year, I'm sure he'll get another one, but whatever. But the way their defense is looking, it's not getting any better.
Whatever, I don't care.
So in that regard, I think we're a little bit ahead of the game, with our mediocre 500 program. Sorry. I'm sorry. Crispy's got a long email here. But we're still on you, Crispy. You're getting like 10 minutes of What's Bruin content out of this. This one may seem blasphemous, but I'm not convinced Chip or his staff are great in-game play callers. They did move away from the outside run in the second half, which is good. I agree with you, Crispy. But the continued inside runs for minimal gain, along with dysfunctional passing plays due to the Utah pass rush, were mind-numbing. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, they did try to adapt to what they were seeing, and it just still wasn't working. I don't know if there needs to be a shuffle on the offensive line, but that was the majority of where the problems came from. And so I don't know if you pull someone that. It's hit or miss too. There's
a reason. Talking about more about the play calling itself.
I know, but this is where it starts from, as well. It's like you have this, what could be a very good play, but then you're left
short-circuited.
But then your left guard is
getting blown up,
getting a goddamn delay a game, false start, stuff like that. That's been an issue as well. Which
you're pointing an awful mean eye at the offensive line, Mike. I don't know if I'm going to take great offense to this.
No, which is weird because I still trust Drevno.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna do. I think he will do really good things. But you did point out a really good point that Utah's defensive line is pretty freaking good. This is the first test that the offensive line has had, and yet they got blown up at different times. They got to Dante Moore, and he didn't see a few of those.
They won their share too, is what I would say.
Exactly.
But certainly they look bad on some plays too.
They did, and on the plays in which they did look, okay, it just seemed like there was just someone lacking in execution in every single play, and you can't have that. The whole offense has to move as one.
Yeah, and getting back to Crispy's question, about the play calling. Look, This game was probably not a testament to how good UCLA's offensive play calling is, right? This is a rough one for them.
Yeah. We've seen some really good plays, offensive schemes, formations.
I guarantee you Chip wants some of these calls back from this game. And as I said earlier, Crispy, I wish we would have had a little bit more screen game. Me and Mike were both wondering where the wrinkle was. I think you could have brought in Schlee in there for a play or two or for a series or so.
I mean,
just to make Utah think about something different.
UCLA had that 3 running back I formation.
We saw none of that.
None of that. And that was effective.
Why not? Mike, you bring
stuff
up
like that.
I didn't even think about that. Well, that play had been a very excellent producing play for them.
Yeah.
All season long so far.
You have some
and they just put it away. Chip Kelly was throwing out wrinkles in the non-con with nothing to, where the stakes were not very high. They're dominating these games. Where's that in this game?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
You have
Mike.
some tight end bunches, stuff like that, or at least where a guy's in motion going towards, that heavier set side. There was just nothing. It seemed like he wanted to be safe, and I'm like, this is not the time to be safe. This is the time to where you pull out some random shit that the opposing team has not seen.
Mike, and if you have seen it, there's going to be a little bit of variety, and I.
No,
these are all very good points. And when he wasn't safe, the one play called that wasn't real safe. And by the way, Dante Moore is trying to push the ball down the field a lot, so it's not like they were being so vanilla. It was just that
it wasn't
there
for
wasn't a lot
trying.
of variety, right? But the one play where he really took up a gamble was the freaking option play, and it's I don't know. To me, that was a less necessary risk, right?
Let's use that later.
But Mike, where the hell was the T? That's worked great.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So to answer your question, Crispy, I respectfully disagree that he's not a great play caller because we've seen so many games where they're just marching down the field and scoring at will. And just the last 2 years alone on that offense, there's been some good play calling. However, what I will say, absolutely, and I absolutely agree with you, is if we went back and we looked at every 4th and 1 and 3rd and short and 4th and short that Chip has had, I'm not super necessarily thrilled with the plays he makes in those moments. And that's where I would think that, in my opinion, he's the weakest, right? Generally, for a game, coming up with a plan to be successful on offense, he is an absolute mastermind. But his Achilles heel might be these clutch sort of situations where it's coming down to crunch time and what are we going to do? I think that's a very valid argument. And I know we took a long time to get to it, but yeah, you might be onto something there, Crispy. Now he says, last but not least, thinking back, the staff shined putting game plans together specifically against Oregon in 2020 and Utah in 2021 without DTR, but they don't seem to adjust enough when the plan is clearly not succeeding. Yeah, I think that's all fair. While it's easy to criticize the coach after a loss and none of us has ever coached college football, I'd love to get your thoughts on if we need a philosophy change for play calling. Thanks, and go Bruins, Crispy Bruin. Yeah, I think we kind of answered the last part with our, how long we've taken with your question. But yeah, to me, after thinking through your question, I really am struck by how well I think Kelly calls plays right up until some of these crunch time moments. And you're like, really? Sometimes it's a quarterback sneak when you wish you would have done something else. Sometimes it's not running an option with your freshman quarterback and he fumbles the ball. And then again, some of that comes down to execution too. So I don't know. I don't know. There are plenty of times when it seems like his play calling is magical. So I don't know if we're adjusting for just the negative moments or not. But it's certainly something worth talking about. All right. We have phone calls too, Mikey. Let's get the phone calls.
Damn.
Hey, guys. Quick comment on the Utah game, the game that was, as you call it. After the first 8 seconds, the rest of the game was an excruciating, flat-footed draw. They didn't have a quarterback. We didn't have a quarterback. They had a sketchy line. We had a sketchy line. They couldn't pass. We couldn't pass. They couldn't run. We couldn't run. Awful football game. One of the worst games I've watched since the dreaded dawn of the dark ages when Carl Durrell showed up and we had the now infamous 6-3 Manuel White game where Durrell popularized the Durrell offense, the Durrell 3-step, which goes left, right, left, punt. So that was a horrible game. So let's get to the game balls for me. These would be deflated game balls. One goes to Chip Kelly. He lost this game. I've been one of the biggest Chip Kelly fans around. He lost this game. He didn't have more throwing any quick outs. He didn't do any bubble screens. He didn't do any screens to the tailbacks. Didn't do any jet sweeps. He didn't do jack. He just kept insisting on that inside trap, pounding the ball into the middle or off tackle. He deserves this loss. Secondly, Dante, he's now known as Dante Less. He'll keep that nickname until he gets us back to positive, where we can go back to what he's supposed to deliver, which is more. He was awful. I mean, I've seen some bad quarterbacking. I'm looking at you, MBT. But this was off the charts bad. This was DTR 2018, 2019. This is DTR dropping the ball. This is everything bad in a quarterback. Yeah, he made some good throws. Gets a deflated ball. Third, the receivers. Awful. They disappeared. Trudeck, where are you? You're supposed to be an NFL prospect. You didn't even show up. Ford didn't show up. The only catch we had for a touchdown was from a former walk-on. Receivers, F. All get deflated balls. The only inflated game ball goes to the defense. Defense in front seven, fantastic. Tuia, great job up the middle. The Murphs, they put it under control. They didn't run their mouths. They were quick off the edge. Very good. Latu, of course, goes without saying he was great. And then in the backfield, I guess Davies is a C+, where Kirkwood was a C. And Humphrey, you get guess I'll have to upgrade you to about a B-. So that's it. Going forward, I think we beat Washington State, but that quarterback has a lightning quick release. He's really shifty. They've got quick passing game. We're going to have to be on our toes, and I think we can beat him. So with any luck, we'll get back in the Rose Bowl race. That's it for now. This is Diego from San Diego. Bye.
First off, aces for that Carl Durrell assessment. Left, right, punt.
That was beautiful.
I was cracking up.
And he left his name this time. Diego from San Diego.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I love
that. Who got the deflated balls of the game? Wow, that's another level. Fantastic, though. Fantastic. But yeah, no, it's frustrating. It's just frustrating how the offense performed, especially I thought they would come out with a little bit more fire, looking at how they were just pretty much unstoppable in the first three games, and Utah made them stoppable. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Diego said, and I love the deflated ball call, and I love the Dante Less call because they're all appropriate to this game, and also though they can have some redemption, and kind of a through line here. Crispy's asking about the play calling for Kelly. Diego's talking about the lack of the. They never really ran any bubbles. They just ran kind of swing passes, and they'd get blown up. They're too slow developing. If you're going to go sideline to sideline, make it freaking quick.
Yeah.
None of the fly sweeps. We already talked about lack of the tee. I already talked about the lack of the screens. But it just seemed like whatever they were trying to do, they weren't trying to do enough things when what they had wasn't working. And that is certainly a through line from this week. And whatever we all think individually they should have done differently. I think we all agree that they should have done something differently, thrown a few more things to the wall to see if anything sticks. And that absolutely, I think, is an absolutely valid criticism. So let's hope that that was a one-game hiccup for our guy Chip, because for the last couple of years, evidence would lead us to think that it is.
Yeah.
But they still got to get off the schneid versus Washington State. They still got to get one game over 500.
Again.
Just so we can hope that they can get 2 games over 500.
Yeah.
Which they really haven't managed to do. God dang it. Do we have another call? Let's see. I don't know if we do or not. But Diego, call again. That was a classic, dude. And you're quickly becoming one of the great What's Bruin Show callers.
Hi, What's Bruin Show. This is Carrie up here in Northern California.
Hi, Carrie.
I love your show.
I love you.
the fact that you have this number so we can leave messages. This is the first time I've ever done it, so hopefully I ask an insightful question. Just about the loss, it's unfortunate just because we could have won, and we definitely have the potential and the talent to have won that game. But there's some positives as well. Outstanding defense, which I'm sure you'll mention. And the offense obviously needs to recalibrate, but I am very hopeful that they'll be able to do that, especially, with Chip. One of the other positive things is the fan reaction. Normally, I wouldn't call in here because it can be toxic sometimes, just a lot of blaming and shaming. And I don't think that helps the team at all. And I don't think it helps us just, process the disappointment we have.
What a shame.
But I think I'll point to you and other media who, told us, hey, we have a great freshman quarterback, but we're going to see some mistakes, and that's just a part of development of a freshman quarterback, especially a true freshman, and at a very difficult place to win in Salt Lake City. I mean, I can't imagine a more rude awakening for a true freshman in the first Power 5 game as in Utah, maybe a few other places, but it wasn't unexpected, but I don't know. I'm still actually very hopeful, and I think that they'll rebound really well. So my question to you is, what have you seen in the past from Chip and how he game plans, how he makes changes in his offense to adjust to losses, especially ones that are, offensively struggling? All right. Thanks so much, guys. Look forward to hearing your next podcast. Bye.
That's a good point. This
Thanks for calling, Carrie.
UCLA, thank you very much.
We enjoyed your call, Carrie. You're awesome.
UCLA usually
scores
quite a bit of points, except against Utah, it seems, Jake, especially under the Chip Kelly era.
Well, I mean, if you go back and look, now we need to put a line of demarcation in the Chip Kelly era from 2018, 2019, and then 2020 forward, right?
Yeah.
Before 2020 forward, the least points the Bruins scored before last Saturday was 23 points, and they were only held to 23 points in the last 3.5 years, one time. And I think they scored 24 once. Then every other game they were 28 or more. Okay, so that's how unusual this offensive performance was for the Bruins. Now, with that being said, this is the first year they've had Dante Moore as a freshman. They had a veteran DTR and a lot of skill players in 2021 and 22. But specifically against Utah, as Mike just referenced, against all the other Pac-12 schools and against all the other competition, other than 2018 and 19,
get those points.
They're scoring a ton of points, but Utah has held Kelly to 10 points in his first year. And then I want to say, what was it that second year? It was 3 the second year. That's that horrible 49-3
well,
game or whatever.
That's what it was.
49-3.
That hurt. Oh my God, that
and
so
then
resonates.
The Bruins had a lot more success the last couple of years, but then this year, this is the 7. So to answer your question, how does Kelly bounce back from these poor, awful offensive performances? Well, we haven't really had any in the last 3 years. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
This is new territory, actually. Good question.
Generally, it's just been the Bruins are going to score 28 or more points, and then will the defense be able to hold them, right? That's what. But my suspicion, Carrie, is that they will be vastly improved against Wazoo.
Especially with the bye week, yeah.
Whether that leads to victory, I don't know. I kind of feel they will, especially since it's at the Rose Bowl. I think this is a game where the Bruins are going to be up for it after, stewing on this loss for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Washington State being able to ride high off their win against the Beavs on the Palouse for 2 weeks. It's just me, my Bruin blue-colored glasses. But I feel like they're going to give Washington State everything they can handle when they come out. But there's no guarantee of it. And there's no precedent for it either because Kelly hasn't been held under 28 points in 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. It's uncharted territory. So we'll just hope that the freshman plays better. The offensive line isn't as challenged against a lesser defensive line, hopefully. And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling, Carrie, and that was a wonderful call. Thank you so much. Call again. Kara is also talking about how the processing of these games, right, it's maybe not healthy to, how the fan base gets a little bit toxic. And I couldn't agree more with that. But right here, just in these two calls, you get the dichotomy of how people process these games, right? On one hand, you want to stay positive. You want to have positive vibes. They're going to help the team. And I kind of probably more lean that way with Carrie on that. But then you have Diego from San Diego calling with some very valid criticism, and it seems like he's more looking at it from this is what we obviously did wrong, and let's not do that again, and oh my gosh, geez, this is depressing. And I kind of feel that way too. I think where it really doesn't help is And this goes back to what I was saying about just the baggage of Chip Kelly at this point. Every time we have one of these losses, we have to like relitigate how horrible or how much he's accomplished during his tenure, right? Whether it's a loss that, is an understandable one or not, it's still the longer he stays at this kind of mark of 500, he was underwater for so long because of those first 2 seasons, and now he's been at 500 for so long. It's like, unless he puts together a real proper streak, it's just going to be like this every time they lose a game, and then every time they win a game impressively, it's kind of tilts the other way, and now it's tilting back. But we all process things in a different way. But I couldn't agree with Kerry more that it can get toxic, and we do see that from time to time. And this may be one of those times. I don't know. Last but not least, we have one more call. Let me find it. Oh, no, actually, it's just a text message from Turkish Airlines.
What are they saying?
So I do want to go to Constantinople, or as those people call it now, Istanbul. But
Istanbul was Constantinople.
Byzantine Empire forever, bro. But anyways,
That might be Giants rule.
I know that's true, Mike. So I guess we can get on to Mike's favorite, or actually Bill's favorite part of the show, even though he's not here. What's brewing with you?
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Mikey, you had a wonderful What's Brewing with the family. What was it?
I had a synth-tastic weekend with the family. Literally, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just doing something with music, and specifically synth music. Friday night, I went with the kiddos, all 3 of them, to go see Ladytron at the Belasco. First off, the Belasco, an amazing place. Secondly, Ladytron just killed it. They did have one song where they did screw up, but they acknowledged it, and it was so funny just to see their lead singer, Marnie, who's this just small little thing, just after the song go, fuck, what the hell was that? It was funny, made the whole crowd laugh. But the best part was, just taking my kids there, especially my oldest Violet, who has been in love with Ladytron the last year. She was bouncing off the goddamn walls, like just bouncing. We left the Belasco, and she's just like on the street jumping around. She's just like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. That was the best thing. That was totally worth it. Poppy was the same way. She was a little tired. She was like, she's kind of into him, but she liked the experience. Hugo was like half asleep on my shoulder the whole time, but afterwards he was like, no, I'm awake. The next night, after the atrocious events that occurred in the SLC, I went to go visit a friend of my radio show, and a bro, if you will, Mr. Hanzilla, who is we met on the Twitters and became chatty internet friends because of UCLA football, then got into discussing music and realized he's a fantastic musician, which he's the creative, the head of the LA Synth Society, which meets once a month, and they had their 1 year anniversary in Hawthorne this weekend at Common Space Brewery, which was that's a sweet spot. In one spot, they had like total industrial area. It's right by that SpaceX Hawthorne Airport. It's right in that like little pocket of just right between industry and commerce and residential. But one side, everyone's watching the Dodgers game. On the other side, all music. And this was the first time that they actually had performances. So, on the Instagram, I don't think I put my Instagram on here. It's the Big Disco. So check that out if you want to. It's whatever.
Big what now?
The Big Disco. And I put some video of those shows. I put videos of Ladytron as well.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, for my show on KQBH, I interviewed an artist by the name of Clippy, who just really good dark wave synth artist, and she's actually playing tonight. I don't think I'm going to make it, but she has a few other shows coming up in the future. So yeah, it was just an awesome musical synthtastic weekend for me. But awesome. I wasn't the center of attention. That would be you, Jake. It was your birthday. What's brewing with you?
Well, that's nice, Mikey. I had a nice birthday, other than the loss to the Utes, which was pretty much, that was just sucky.
That's shite.
Yeah, but I started the day going to see Murder in Venice, which I thought was a fun movie. I really like those Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie movies.
Murder in Venice? Oh, Haunting in Venice?
Haunting in Venice.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it good?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Okay, good.
It's
good.
much different than I think what the original source material was.
Okay.
But it was very spooky. It's much more of a Halloween movie than it was like a detective movie. Very spooky and lots of
nice.
loud noises and frights and things. So it's a very good Halloween date movie, I think, or a Halloween spooky movie. So go see that. It's lots of fun. And then after I watched that, then Bill and Suzanne and the boys came over to watch the game. We watched the game and were depressed. And then after that... They left, and then I went out to dinner and had a nice dinner with the family, and it was just a nice day. I got some cool toys for my birthday, including a gimbal for my cell phone, which I can make some fun videos with. Michael, I got to show you that
nice.
later.
You were talking about that,
But it's really cool. Like, I got off of Amazon or whatever, and it actually shows you, like, you turn on the screen, connect it to it, and it's like a remote control kind of device that like moves your cell phone around in a smooth manner, so you can take very smooth shots, and it's like and it's like a steadying shot. But when you're playing with it, there's like a little tutorial where they actually just tell you, okay, well, take this shot, and it's like a 4-second like swooping shot, and then a 4-second walk down a hallway, and then a 4-second selfie, and then a 4-second this, and then it automatically combines it into a cool compilation video for you and adds its own music and stuff. So it's like eventually down the line we want to do some like fun like What's Bruin videos or whatever, and this is going to, once I learn how to use the damn thing, we'll facilitate that. So a lot of fun. It was a really cool device, and got some cool t-shirts, and got a nice gym quality Rogue bench for my gym. So
that is nice.
It's very sturdy, so that's nice. And my son wanted to unwrap it like 2 weeks ago, so he finally got to, because he's like 13 now and he thinks he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but whatever. His buddy, his best friend, I went to go pick him up from school the other day, and his mom comes out and is like, he can't go to school today. He's sick to his stomach. I said, well, what the hell's wrong with him? He's been eating raw eggs.
Oh, dear God.
Because they're trying to, bulk up. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These dumb kids. These dumb kids. But anyways.
It's a movie.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, all of a sudden he thinks it's Rocky Balboa. But it was a very nice birthday. Thank you very much, Mike. We will we'll bring yours and Bill's gifts next week for your birthdays. Hopefully. I know you have wonderful birthday plans.
Dude, I'm so excited.
Going to an undisclosed location. And I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Totally.
But, Mike.
It's going to be awesome.
It's always good to see you. And if you guys have anything to say, call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS. It's a bye week, so next week we'll just be talking about something going into previewing the Washington State game. Check out the Substack. That article I talked about will be posted on there shortly. And subscribe, listen to Mallcast, and check out all of Mikey's work on Bruin Report Online. And until next time, go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's got to be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, brah, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.